Hi,
Hi.
we're doing a redirect video, which is always fun. Um, but I guess in a way it's good because we're able to go with the flow of what's current, what's happening at the time.
Yeah.
But we did have something totally different that we were planning on talking about today, didn't we? And now
Mhm.
this feels more important.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, it's really important for both you and I in the work that we do to not have to be on if we are, feeling feelings. Um,
Yeah,
and this was one of those calls where it's like we can be on and try to be happy and fake it, or we can be real, which is way more us.
and to say we've both probably cried today. I know I have multiple times.
Yeah.
And to force some objective when it's in it not in accordance to our own alignment would make no sense. So
Yeah.
authenticity, here we go.
There we go.
Um, it feels funny because I know we've touched base a little bit on a personal level on how we're feeling today, but the heaviness of war being waged in a really, really scary way on the other side of the world has got a lot of people feeling this like really dark collective energy.
Mhm.
And as a fellow empath and sensitive person, I know that we have to temper out how much like news we even take in because a day like today is enough to sideswipe your plans. But because we have been doing a good job in living in alignment and our truth and learning how to take care of ourselves, both of us have been able to shift and sift through some of the weight of things. And so maybe let's just share some of the ways that we're like self-soothing. I feel like I honestly just wanted to tell people like it's possible to get through collective grief. I was actually talking to someone earlier today who said like they were like, "Hey, sorry I haven't got back to your messages. I have friends in Ukraine. I literally feel like I can do nothing to help. I'm really upset about it."
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even have the basic tools of how to even process it on a personal level. So
Mhm.
maybe that should be our focus of how to
Yeah.
personally process collective fear and grief.
Yeah, I agree. And also recognizing that, as a world, we're going into war after 2 years of a global pandemic. So we're
Yeah.
already going into this already probably needing to do grieving around the pandemic, probably needing to like heal some trauma from the past 2 years of just living through that. So
Yeah.
recognizing that we don't even have a lot of reserves going into this.
Exactly. Like, and so from isolation, we go to conflict to destruction, which is the path
Yeah.
no one would want to take. And
Mhm.
I'm reminded first not to take away from obviously the point of this and being honest about what's happening, but something that does give me great solace is I've always had this belief that there's equal light and dark in the world at all times, and there has been since the beginning of time. So if you're seeing only the dark, you're just simply not seeing the light, but it does exist, whether or not you see it or not. And so that's something I wanted to just bring out there. Actually, another a quotation around isolation or like a thought around isolation is Albert Einstein. I've probably told you this one before, but Albert Einstein said, I can't, whenever I feel alone in the world, I end up not being able to feel alone like a minute later because I remember all the people in the world who are fighting for, truth and love and freedom and peace and beauty and all those things, right? So even if you're not around them, you know that they exist.
Yeah.
So perhaps a good way to start us off that we go from that lens, and now we talk about the not so nice stuff
Mhm.
because love and light uh, is not the way, truthfully, forward.
No.
Um, it is a way to heal, but it is not the way forward. You have to face and sit with what is not working. And something I'm going to ramble, so obviously just jump in.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah, I was just gonna say, I think, obviously the circles both you and I tend to walk in that tend to be a bit love and light heavy. And like with both of us having natural shamanic tendencies, you trained and me just born into it. um, you know, the the work happens in the darkness. And if you're just negating, if you're negating the feelings, if you're negating the reality, like there can't really be healing.
And that's the thing, right? Is when we sit in the discomfort and maybe these ugly feelings like hatred, anger, resentment for these decisions being made, high levels of fear, uncertainty, and that grip being tightened on like control and trying to find what is right, separating like what it is not is really really helpful. And I feel like the time that we've been going through all together is like not necessarily leading up to this point, but it's asking us to step up, right? And so something I think a lot about is as a sensitive person, you feel a call to make the world a better place. And a lot of the beauty of having pain, really feeling the weight of experiences like this happening in the world, is that feeling of lack of control for not being able to help the world become a better place.
Yeah.
And so I personally was like, F that. I'm going to shift that. Whatever that is, I don't want to accept that as true because that feels really weak to me. And I'm a strong individual human capable of great change. Will I resolve that tension over there? No, that will not be my role in this war, right? I know that to be true. But is there a way that I can hold space here, channel, transmute, and become lighter for those around me? Is there a way that I can impact the world still? And like those are kind of the things that help me
Yeah.
get through the deeper part of recognition of why you're even upset in the first place when something's going on that like I know people who know people there. I don't know people there.
I don't either. And I think that that
Why
also,
am I feeling that, right? Like
yeah. Well, and I think that that really, for me, has been where I've landed. Like, there is, there's transformation all over this globe that is desperately needed in like you pick a subject.
across the board.
And so really sitting with what's mine to do. Like
Yeah, what's my work?
what did my soul come in to do? What is my educational expertise in? What am I passionate about? What do I really love to do? Um, like that, like we can't all do everything. Like we'll be a little shallow, shattered, hollowed out nothing if we try to think that, okay, well now I've got to shift from, trying to help on this front to now this front. And so I think it does come back to that quote, even like if you can't, like if this isn't yours to do, like hold space, honor, support the people who are doing it, and then get busy doing what you're here to do.
Yeah, I was like, so I mean, talking about feeling like a dark puddle of despair, I seriously, this morning, just to be like real, because I feel like I don't do this very often, actually say my experience, but like I woke up and was reading the news and don't often read the news, but knew I needed to because something big had happened, right? I don't often start my day with that because I would not get much done. But if it was like happy puppy news, I would maybe. But so reading, informing, getting myself like familiar with what's going on, I came to this really like dark feeling of how have we let each other get to this place where we feel this is okay. And it felt like the most fierce feminine anger, which makes a lot of sense. I talked to my friend about it and he was like, isn't this issue right now a really big pit of toxic masculinity?
Mm.
Yeah. Like, why is anyone trying to break ground? We should be attempting to help our fellow person, right? How, and what to give to what you said, right? How is this happening after 2 years of pandemic life, isolation? And how are we then compounding that, right? And the thing that I think that I came to was like me holding this when it's not mine to hold is adding to it. And I want to keep talking about what's going on so that there is help needed, like that there is help that goes there. And who knows how everything is going to transpire in this time. And so I'm with everyone in the uncertainty and everything. But I did feel at some point the highest action that I could take was letting that issue go to where the issue is, because me taking it on is not helping it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not one to process it in my body. And so I guess let's like, what are some of the ways so you were crying this morning. I was crying this morning.
Mhm.
I literally cried on so many different levels of why this upset me, because more kept coming up as to like what was at the root of that. And I've seen people's posts today being like, this feels like when I was a kid and I couldn't even push back against my parents fighting. Like, it feels like this very powerless position for a lot of people, right?
Mhm.
No matter where in place you go.
Mhm.
So an individual processing is one of the best ways forward. Because if you are meant to take action in this time, if you are feeling called to be a part of the solutions here, then you need to take care of yourself first. Like, there literally isn't a way you can do that without having yourself processing some of the stuff that you are innately feeling just by absorbing it.
Mhm.
So what's one way that you brought this to your body and or processed or thought around?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first for me is to let the tears flow, right? Like,
Yeah,
to actually like create space to have quiet time to feel the feelings. Like, it's not,
without judgment, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you deserve to hold the emotion you're holding and then release it. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to keep holding it, but you don't have to feel guilty for it being there in the first place, because that's a part of the layer, especially as like a white woman living in Canada, right? Why am I sitting here? I'm safe. I'm safe as hell right now, right in this moment, right? And so, like, you can feel almost like a disconnect. Am I allowed to feel collective, right? Until I started working with collective energies, I really did was like, what gives me the right to say that I'm, feeling that or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, so I think sit with it without judgment and also without flipping straight into how do I fix it? Like, like just cry the tears. Like,
Yeah,
you know, you read the article, feel the feelings that come up and
like, admit it,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
face
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And then we'll
You
we'll
have to
leap
face it. Yeah.
we'll leapfrog. So after, after you kind of feel it, kind of what was the next step that you took for yourself?
Yeah. After I felt it, so I will say, I think it's important to say I was resisting feeling it at first because I wasn't alone, right?
Mm.
And so I am so much more like an internal processor, and I'd really love to not impact anyone with the heaviness that I feel. But I caught myself just staring out the window. So I guess I just want to, this is like a leapfrog back, but just to be like, sometimes you have automatic processes that do come up that are trying to get you into your body. And so leaning into those when they show up is a way to get the feelings releasing, right? So if you're like, I know I need to feel things, but I'm so not used to feeling them. How do I even get tears out? Like, staring off into space and letting myself be in the pit of what I was feeling was way safer, because I didn't have to talk about it and to bring it to like,
Yeah.
words don't match feeling, right? Words are attempting to match feeling. They don't match feeling. So you have to feel it. And that was like a way that I could, I guess, be in the back of my mind.
Mhm.
And And then really, I think my first thing was breathing. I think I just started really, really deeply exhaling, like naturally. It was like my only way to start. Like, I had tears, I was crying, and I thought, oh, I've got to try and shift this. Oh, I've got to move to do this thing. But all I was doing was walking around here and then exhaling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sighing, like
Mhm.
feeling as though I could actually like let things go. And then I did like a whole bunch of things. So we can keep going back and forth on like tools and techniques that we're using here.
Yeah.
But
I
there
think
is like a messy part of the process, right? Of like,
oh, absolutely.
like,
There's a
and
messy.
I literally pulled like one card for my friend, not me. I pulled one card and then like had another breakdown. Like, I wasn't ready to even be pulling cards. Like, I was going to things to see if I could like push it. So you have a lot of validity with what you're saying, that our mind automatically wants us to find the logic first before facing it and feeling it. And then I just cried over that one card. I was like, wah! And it was like, that was the moment I could actually break. Right. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, like like the breathing breath work for sure is big, but even just self-soothing by like feeling into my body. Like,
Yeah.
for me, I'm a really big like hand on heart person.
I was doing this a lot.
Mhm.
Just like,
Like,
oh, okay. Oh, okay. What's going on?
yeah. Yeah, like just reminding myself that I can take comfort in my own body.
Hmm. That your body is safe.
Yeah.
Your
Mhm.
body is safe. So like I was telling myself, I can shift this. I can process this. I can process this. I can transmute this. I can change this. Like I was telling myself these things,
Yeah.
as I was exhaling, and it did help me interrupt the cycle of thoughts that I was on. So sometimes the pushing away is because you're trying to interrupt the cycle. So it's like, I think it's so key. Just don't judge what your automatic is and do the thing that you think feels better.
Yeah. And I
Right?
think if you have a history of trauma, which like FYI,
We
most of
both do.
yeah,
Everyone does, though. You're right.
everyone
Everyone
does.
does. Everyone does.
But if you do have a history of trauma, sometimes being in your body wasn't always the safe option.
Still
So
could not be.
and so I think for me, my first instinct when I don't feel safe is to pull out of my body.
Yeah.
And my healing work has been to
Bringing
try
it
to
back.
bring it back. Yeah.
I would say that's true of a lot of people. It's the shamanic way, right? You're disconnecting because what you're experiencing here on earth in density and in body is so traumatic that your soul and spirit literally needs to jet for a second to refine itself. And why I always say disconnection leads to greater connection, because how sweet is that when you return, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And what's like a way that you get into your body? Obviously the heart, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and reflection.
Yeah, and then even just like something really tactile, like so
Yeah.
like a hot drink or a cover or like sitting with my
Cooking
cats
or
or yeah,
yeah,
like something
petting, hugs.
something that really is like really hard to do if you're not in your body.
Yes. Yeah,
Like
something that you need to feel in it to
yeah,
do.
like I
Yeah.
can feel that hot drink going down my throat. I can feel the
Yeah.
weight of the blanket on me. I can
I've been just speaking of blankets. I'm big
yeah.
on blankets when you need comforting.
Yeah. Oh,
And so,
I'm under one right now too.
right? And so it's no surprise to me that often I won't work with a blanket on any random day because I'm just focusing and moving around too much to keep, taking it on and off. But today it was like, nope, no question. I'm sitting reclined in this chair, working with my blanket on. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I
yeah,
think again, like just a reminder, like these are all first steps that like we shouldn't attach any guilt or judgment to, right? Like because again, it could be really easy to say like, why do you need a blanket when there's
yeah, your
people
big baby.
who are sitting on a highway trying to escape
Yeah,
without getting bombed on, like, and you're
yeah,
worried about not having a blanket on you, like,
yeah.
like take that out, you know?
Yeah, because it's really, the thing is, like, that literally doesn't even help their problem. So you
No.
are just adding your own story of privilege,
Yeah.
even to be doing that whole cycle and making it. So, like, the sooner you can remove that, the sooner that burden's lifted for you and you can help better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's kind of key to keep bringing it up because it's not our issue. And this part is our issue. It's why are we holding this collective grief and not able to process it? You and I are pretty good at processing, but like, I wanted to do a video to be like, because honestly, I was talking to someone today who didn't have any of these tools and is such a connected and aware person, but was just heavy in the pits, like was just all in grief because it doesn't feel like there's a way out, especially with big, big, big stuff that you feel like you have no control over. That's why this is like, what controls do you have? You have breath, you have touch, you have blanket.
You have a blanket.
And another one that I really found useful was when I was listening to our Nourish Nomad playlist, because music is really healing. As like a side note, if we were doing like a cheesy YouTube video, I'd have like music as like a bonus that came up right now. But I got outside barefoot in the snow, letting my third eye and head soak in sun and sunlight and really feel like I'm bringing light to my mind, because my mind felt sludgy and tar-like and dense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really, and it was like light, healing, and nature, right? So I knew you'd also vibe with it.
Yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, I think that finding that, sorry, I'm having light issues.
That's okay.
Finding that balance between getting enough informed and then knowing when to turn things off.
My friend who I'm staying here with was like, I really need to stop reading the news. And they're like a very politically like aware person. It's not like hard to go read for them normally, but when it's heavy, you have to temper yourself, right? Like chocolate tempering. You have to like do it in steps, do it in breaks, let yourself, well, and don't judge yourself for saying, I need to take a little moment to think about that.
Yeah.
It's hard stuff to face. It's really awful what humans are doing to other humans right now. It's really awful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a hard effing thing to feel. So let it be hard to feel and feel it, right? I always like to remind people they have strength to feel what they're feeling, because usually you're afraid that if you feel it, you'll crumble or something, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
I also did smoke cleansing because I was like, get this gone. And I felt like a stagnancy in the air from like multiple people here feeling like tense and dark and weighed down. I feel like smoke and air cleansing is like, it's just like and I let in fresh air too to the space, because, and you know what, I did many circles of energetic clearing on the cell phones and the laptops. Because that's where this stuff is coming from. That's where we are associating it from. Everything else feels safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know, because we still are in such isolation, our entire worlds have, for a lot of us, become these little squares.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I've hardly seen any live people. So like my entire reality is screen based.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
and
makes
like
total sense.
That can also make you feel really untethered. So that like returning to body and returning to right time. That's like a big thing I work on a lot, is like, what exact time is it in life and where am I right now? And what is my reality right in this current moment, right? Yeah.
And then I think tending to your real physical needs as well. Like, have you, like, did I drink enough water today? Have I fed myself today? Like those.
I'm talking too much.
Yeah, like those are real keys too, because then you end up in this like cycle of, you know, I'm so overwhelmed by feeling, and then I'm not taking the time to hydrate or to eat, and then that just like keeps you like out of your body and just in this loop of feeling awful.
And I always say, it's like, you got to give yourself a fighting chance. At least take the basic care of your body that you need. Like both people here today, when we took a hot shower, like as soon as you get out, you're like, okay, that's done.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I personally use aromatherapy in my shower routine. So there was like added benefit, but like in it, I don't know, it's so weird, but when you cry, you know, you get all congested, but literally just thinking, get your tears out, get your snot out, like clean everything up. It can feel like you're washing it away. And so water cleansing, shower cleansing, you know, is totally a good baths for people who just need to sit and be, right? Some people can't cry and feel things unless they're in like a safe spot like that, right? So
yeah, for sure. And interestingly enough, from a science perspective, they've shown that tears actually hold neurotransmitters. So they actually are a way for us to shift chemically what's going on
our emotional experience. Our emotional experience scientifically has proven that it can shift towards a calmer place, because that's a release, right? It's a stabilizing
like
force.
Tears, like they've looked at happy tears versus sad tears, and they're chemically different.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that includes listening to your body's need to go to the washroom or go on a walk. Like I moved around so much, I could not talk about being in your body, right? Like it's very difficult to transmute energy without shifting physically. And I was pacing around, I was tapping things. I was just jumping up and down for like a good amount of time, because it felt like I was getting stuff sent to the ground.
Hmm. Yeah. Any other tips? Because like the next one I want to talk about kind of moves away from the self-care type piece. So I want to make sure we kind of like
Yeah, I don't think, no, I just have like one or two more things probably that I did in order to, it's not really self-care related.
yeah, because I think for me, like the feeling and being with it, the getting in my body, and then the big thing for me today has been to take some really good steps in my soul's work. You know, like
Hmm.
we had like we've just finished having a really good meeting where we're getting really clear on how we want to serve the
And
people
help the
that,
world.
yeah.
Because
And
what's the wound that we have with this collective grief? I
mhm,
just want to make the world a better place.
yeah,
That's what we're feeling in our child mind at the deepest core of ourselves. In our hearts, we're feeling, oh my gosh, I wish I could do more to make this world a kinder, better, gentler place. You
yeah,
can, absolutely, you should be doing more every day,
yeah,
right? So, like, us being able to say, let's line up to this, but, caveat being, we're also not pushing ourselves. So, the
yeah,
same selling video that we thought we would have today is not in alignment and needs to be recognized that that's not in alignment. It would actually not even feel tasteful for us to do that based on our
yeah.
current energy. It would feel wrong to you guys to like, or to you all to like not honor that, right?
Well,
And
yeah,
go ahead.
but I mean, I do know, like, knowing what we are working on is has been such a good shift for me.
Yeah,
That think locally and think globally and act locally, like,
yeah,
is really true because
yeah.
we can change our corner of the world for sure.
Exactly. And that is, I mean, that's the whole idea of what we're talking about here summed up, right? It's like feel the collective and process it individually.
Yeah.
You can't process collective grief. You can't do it. We're all doing it at the same time. Like we have to help each other by doing our own work to help others too, right? Like I will say, this meeting obviously helped me as well that we had before we jumped on here because lining up to mission always feels beautiful. And before this, I had a client session for a couple hours
Hmm.
that was me just completely diving into someone and their individual path for the year. And it felt like, okay, the world's still turning, right? There's still equal light and dark. This is very loud, concentrated darkness right now, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Very loud, very concentrated, very aware of this darkness. I will say one way that I get back into myself and my personal mission and journey is pulling oracle cards. So it's funny because I started pulling them as a way to process and like just be like, oh, that's a feeling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I just went back to it after I'd had my cry fest over pulling one card and still not feeling like, things had shifted.
Yeah.
I pulled myself a stack. I got myself a general frame of mind of what's my personal journey. And then it really shifted because I was like, that's not my reality. I have to keep reminding myself that's not my reality. I'm not
Yeah.
in that fear right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like it is this really weird. I mean, we talk about this in everything we do about that balance and the feet on either side of the seesaw. And that's kind of how I feel in general, even walking through grief, like
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging it, feeling it simultaneously as you're also like, I mean, I've had some beautiful experiences today as well. Like, so I mean, being human is just so amazing because we can hold multiple truths at the same time. And, um,
And I do think things are equal parts beauty and tragedy.
mhm,
And this is a hell of a tragedy. There's
mhm,
also a hell of a lot of beauty happening. I'm seeing it simultaneously as well. I have like an onslaught of true love and support and stability somehow while this devastating, and my heart is so wishing to be pulled there, but I will only do that for a certain time. Like I do think that in the next couple of days I'm going to feel called again to do healing work for this collective grief, and I will keep having to step in, cry, step back.
yeah,
But that's just me being an energy worker. As
yeah,
any person watching this, you don't have that same responsibility. You honestly don't. If you feel energetically connected to this and like you need to be a part of that energetically, like giving support, then just do it. Right? Like there's nothing stopping you from giving love and sending support and seeing beautiful things in your world. There's nothing stopping you from doing those things. It's not going to hurt what's happening. It's not going to add to what's happening over there.
And you're also not a bad person if this isn't what you're called. Like,
This is not your mission.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I just feel like compelled to say that because I know there's definitely people in my life where I feel they are feeling really compelled towards activism these days, and that however your voice wants to be used is however your voice wants to be used. But you're so right. So many people will take things on that are not there. And like I said at the beginning, this is not, I know my involvement is not going to be here in this lifetime. I don't think that's necessarily always true. I do think I'll be quite politically involved at some point in life. But for right now, this is something I really just need to process on an individual level.
Yeah, I've often felt for me this lifetime is about, it's almost like I'm the nurse in the medic bunker.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make sure that I can help people be as nourished as, like, on a cellular level, on a spiritual level, as nourished as they possibly can, so they can go out and do their mission
And fight. Yeah. I always said that too, because I used to have, when I had an in-person location for healing work, I found a lot of people came to me who identified as like activists. And so I was like, wow, it's interesting that I'm attracting all these people when I personally don't feel that is the way that I choose to use my energy here on this earth. It's odd that I would provide, but it's like you have to care for the people who are here to do that. And like I would it's your example is funny. My example is like a D&D example. So it's like the cleric, right? It's like who is staying back and healing to make sure the battle can be fought, right? And there's all roles involved. Yeah. And there is local global, right? So if you're wishing to make a difference in your world, effing make a difference where you can.
Yeah.
Either donate, do something here, random act of kindness. You just had one, didn't you?
I did. Somebody paid for my coffee today.
I mean, today of all days, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It made me cry.
Yeah, of course. Well, the floodgates are open, right? So what are you going to do at that point?
Yeah. So the one quote I wanted to share that my therapist shared with me last session is that it's on my bathroom wall right now. And it is, those who grieve and mourn well become those who live and love well.
So true. Oh.
Because I don't really think, like, I've spent a year with my heart very closed, and you can't feel any emotion. Like, it's not like we don't get to be, we don't get to pick and choose our emotions. Like, you either have an open heart to feel all of them, or you're not really feeling any of them.
And allowing them access is the only way through that issue. Like, seriously, the only way to have that open is to begin opening any corner of emotion that is possible, right? Whatever is accessible, easily accessible to you.
Yeah. So yeah, that one really hit home. I mean, like I said, it's on a Post-it note in my bathroom. So
yeah, that's a bathroom mirror quotable. I like it. Yeah. Well, I feel like we've probably talked around the issue enough to at least get a conversation started. So at this point, I would say, like, I would just love to know how our community is doing. We're not talking here for our own sake, obviously, right now. Really want to check in on people and see whether either any of these techniques were what you already did, or if they're helping you. If you've got more to add, we'll obviously take more. I could add a billion, but we just want to say there's ways to do this to get through your own side of this while the inevitable is currently happening.
Yes. And that, feeling the feelings is so key.
Your only way through. Yeah. Only way out is out of feeling, is through it. Yeah. Because it will keep circling back, right? Yeah. Especially when you don't take any action. Feel and then act.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's so challenging to hold how good and how terrible many things are showing up right now. Yeah. But I'm very glad that we have community that we've built and shared, that I have you, that I have supportive community and connections in my life, and more that I haven't even met yet.
Yeah. And I think that's what we have to keep reminding ourselves. Like, this is a collective darkness. You know, I would say it's been going on for much longer than we would probably like to admit.
This
And
is a surfacing.
it's a surfacing for sure. And I feel like it's also a collecting, like it's a collecting of like-minded souls and community, and really like figuring out how we walk through this darkness with love and kindness together.
And from disconnect breeds great connect, Sean, right? So when we feel that disconnect on a personal level, we feel it to our community, to our world at large, because we go, how is this our reality?
Yeah.
Collectively, right? Yeah. Then we say, I'm also part of this collective. I'm going to send love back in.
Yeah. Well, and even, you know, when we talked about the energy of the 222, you know, we talked about that the beauty of the number 2 is both seeing the harmony, but also seeing the conflict and the difference, and how do we really hold both of those and make sure that we like we're starting to create that reality that is more focused on harmony.
Yes. Well, that's what you and I are here to uphold. And everyone here also is here to uphold this idea of love and harmony and well-being in our world, a state of well-being, right?
But like that really juicy love, like I just, for me, I just keep really being drawn to that. I love the term sacred rage, and that like mama bear love. Like I want to take that kind of love. Like I don't, like the light and love needs to grow some depth, and it needs to really
grow something.
Yes. Yes, it does. And I just like, that's the kind of love we need right now. Like not just
boldly, unabashedly, recklessly aligned with integrity and love. Yeah, and the kind of love that changes people's lives.
Yeah.
The kind of love that is never been expressed to someone, the kind of words you're not used to saying, the kind of gestures that feel above and beyond, and the kind of self-care and nourishing acts that feel like, wow, you're doing a lot of this, because you know what? There's a lot going on. You do need a lot of this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you know, for me, when I say I'm sending you light and love, like I'm sending you like the armor to get through it, and the
light shields.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, the flask of fortifying elixir. Like that's the light and love we need.
Clap on the back of the, you know, on the back of the shoulders when you're headed off. That's the type of support.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Well, a good place to sign off for the day. We will be back later this week. So now people get a double, you know, double dose of Kate and Kat. Anything else you wanted to say before we sign off to everyone?
Just so much gratitude for you and our community. It's definitely a lifeline walking through these dark days.
Absolutely. And only going to get bigger and better. Let anyone know if you're at this point in the video. Please subscribe and like and do the notification button, because like obviously you're just getting familiar with our YouTube. We kind of want to see you again too. Love to see a comment, and if you share it with anyone who is feeling this way, I think it could go a long way. Hopefully there's value here for you, and so look forward to meeting you and your community as well.
Yep. And we'll see you all again soon.
Take care. Be well.